Somebody that I worked with early on when I started my career mentioned about the trees, the old growth forests, and it's a great point of, what is Oregon to you? And if you don't have old growth forests, is it still Oregon? Is that what we're here for? And I would kind of put that to the beaver, these species, is that, it's our state animal, right? If we don't have beavers here, and there was a point in history where we were close to the brink of extinction, would it still be Oregon? Would it still feel the same?
Well, some of the challenges of beaver in urban streams really have to do with the challenges that we've put on the landscape, and that is the constraints. The way that we've constrained beaver habitat, meaning we've built roads and bridges and put culverts and houses and other structures too close to beaver habitat.
Well, the beavers do what they do, and that's raise water levels, and as a result there's a lot of private property concerns about the resulting expansion of the wetlands and flooding. So water doesn't drain from properties as quickly. The aerial spread is greater of floods as a result of beaver, and people are concerned about that. But paradoxically, that's the best function of beavers, so there's an inherent conflict between beavers and private ownership.
In these very urbanized environments where you have a lot of concrete, a lot of pavement, it rains, and basically, the water flows off of this impermeable, structure directly into the streams. And it just, it's kind of the fire hose effect. The hydrology has changed, velocities are much higher, it scours habitat.
In the last 30 or so years, there's been a realization that good stormwater management requires retention. These wetlands, and particularly these beaver-supported wetlands, absorb more pollution. They hold the water longer and reduce peak flooding and downstream.
I think for the overall health of the system of streams here, it's going to be a good thing, because most of the runoff is still from roof, driveway, street, parking lot, and not all of that is going into swales as of yet. The new housing developments are doing that, but we still have development here that have gone back 30 some odd years or more.
Beavers provide the best habitat we have available specifically for salmon, but especially coho salmon. So we spend a lot of time and money developing projects to restore habitat, and the habitat that we're trying to create is the coho habitat, that coho habitat, which is the habitat the beavers make for free.
Beavers increase all wetland functions and values. That's the latest scientific thinking after looking at beavers in a number of landscapes throughout North America.
One of the greatest benefits that beavers provide to the environment and to us is creation of wetlands, which provide wonderful habitat for a variety of fish and wildlife species.
We can go in there and just jump into a beaver pool and put our snorkel and mask on and see fish and say, well, yeah, there's a lot more fish in this beaver pond than there are out in this channel that has no habitat. That's an obvious thing. I think the bigger thing is that that broader watershed scale perspective.
For those folks that think beavers are pests or nuisance, I can see where they're coming from, because beaver do pose challenges. They can be difficult to live with, again, because of what we've done to constrain their habitat, and so it can be challenging.
We want to keep the beavers in the streams because they provide this amazing habitat for fish, many ESA listed fish, but at the same time they flood infrastructure, and there are problems for people. So you have this balancing game where you're trying to keep the habitat but work with people.
The pond has taken over, and some people may look at that as a bad thing, although everything that I've read and heard, and I know there are pros and cons on this, that beaver are a keystone species, so what they do prepares the way for other wildlife to follow.
Beavers require some patience, and if you're interested in a formal landscape garden. A beaver certainly isn't going to be to your liking, but if you're appreciative of the natural environment, you want to see more birds, more species of birds, and bird activity like that, then a beaver is actually going to result in more wildlife in your backyard.
I love the pond. You know, I came down here with a good friend the other night, and we kind of sat here and drank a beer, and that's when the muskrat showed up nibbling on the grass, and then we saw 2 beaver instead of 1 or 2 ducks, you know, residing here. We've always had the mallards, then we've picked up the wood ducks before, but there were a lot of wood ducks here this winter and this spring. Hopefully we'll have some fish come back. When we first moved here, there were trout and a lot of crawdad in the stream, and those disappeared as development upstream continued. So that's something else we're hoping to see come back, and that'll bring blue heron and kingfishers back.
You know, there are solutions out there that we can find. I think if people can give the stream or the pond or the wetland a little more room, you know, and not as much encroachment, I think that helps. I think that's the biggest thing with streams or, you know, wetlands, is just giving, you know, the natural environment a little bit more room, and that's what I try to do.
The fact that we've had a large beaver move in has made the neighborhood more conscious about, you know, what we have in our backyards.
What is Oregon to you? If we don't have beavers here, you know, would it still be Oregon? Would it still feel the same? And I think that's a big part of it, just, you know, connecting with nature, you know, from, you know, the small kid all the way up.